Welcome back, students. I think today this will be the last session for the advices and tips for your ISC economics tomorrow, 24th February 2023. Make it a target. Tomorrow is your D-Day economics exam. And I would wish that all of you, everyone will be having a gala time. That means you will be doing very well in economics exam. Anyway, today I will be giving you certain advices on the chapter Theory of Income and Employment. This is a very conceptual chapter. First question, first thing, what is autonomous consumption? What is induced consumption? The features of Keynesian consumption function. Then what is APC? What is MPC? Average propensity to consume, marginal propensity to consume. Relationship between the two, that means not relationship, but how we derive the mathematical concepts. APC is equal to C by Y, consumption expenditure by income. And MPC is equal to delta C by delta Y. If income and consumption expenditures are given to you, you can determine, you can find out APC and MPC very well. Every time the consumption expenditure divided by income, you can get the APC, and the change in the consumption expenditure with respect to divided by the change in income, we can get the MPC. Now, the consumption functions curve, that is the upward sloping curve, starting from a point on the y-axis, because that intercept, that is the autonomous consumption. Then you come to investment, autonomous investment, planned investment, induced investment. These two are there, but we consider the planned investment only, which is a horizontal straight line parallel to the x-axis, the investment curve, because it's assumed to constant, to be independent of the income. Then the derivation of aggregate demand curve. Aggregate demand is equal to, in a simple Keynesian model, in a simplified version, aggregate demand is equal to C plus I. Aggregate demand is equal to C plus I. So the aggregate demand curve, that is the derivation you need to learn, you need to know how to derive. So consumption curve plus I investment curve, that will be aggregate demand curve. AD curve is equal to C plus I curve, which is parallel to the C curve, and the gap between aggregate demand curve and the consumption curve is investment, which is constant. Okay. Then aggregate supply curve. Aggregate supply is equal to income, and therefore the aggregate supply curve is an upward sloping straight line to the origin, making an angle of 45 degrees with the x-axis. Now, after this, you have the determination of equilibrium level of income by using aggregate demand and aggregate supply curve. This approach, this question is very important this time. How to determine the equilibrium level of income by using aggregate demand, aggregate supply approach. Now, when you answer this question, then aggregate demand, firstly, you consider consumption, then investment, then aggregate demand, how we derive the curve, show the curve. Then aggregate supply curve, why is it aggregate supply 45 degree? Because aggregate supply is equal to income. Then in one graph, you show aggregate demand curve, aggregate supply curve intersecting each other, cutting each other, and that is the point of equilibrium. And you draw the vertical line, which is dropped on the x-axis, and that is the level of income, equilibrium level of income. According to Keynes, this is full employment level of income, full employment level of income. Where, what is full employment? Full employment is that situation in which all the labor resources of the country who are willing to work at the prevailing wage rate are all employed. Okay, that is full employment. Now, with respect to this concept of full employment, there can be involuntary unemployment, the concept. Unemployment can be voluntary unemployment, can be involuntary unemployment. Now, what is involuntary unemployment? Involuntary unemployment is that situation in which people are not voluntarily unemployed. People are searching for jobs, people are ready to work at the prevailing wage rate, but they are not getting the jobs. That is involuntary unemployment. Anyway, let's come back to now aggregate demand, aggregate supply approach is done. After this, you have savings. How do we get savings? Savings is equal to income minus consumption. Then the savings curve will start from the negative portion below the x-axis, then it will cross or cut or intersect the x-axis, at which saving is 0, and then saving will be positive. Okay. Now, with respect to saving, you have two concepts again. APS and MPS, average propensity to save and marginal propensity to save. APS equal to S by Y, MPS equal to delta S by delta Y. Very similar to that, those two APC and MPC concepts. Now here there's a relationship. You may be given a question regarding the relationship establishment, like APC and APS relationship. What is that? APC plus APS equal to 1. That you may be given a question to establish this relationship. Then a question like establish the relationship between MPC and MPS. Similar thing, MPC plus MPS equal to 1. Now saving and investment, these should be equal at the equilibrium level of income. So this is another alternative approach. Saving investment approach, determination of equilibrium level of income based on the saving investment approach. Yes, this is also very much there in the syllabus, and this can come, but I think this is less probable this year. More important will be aggregate demand, aggregate supply approach. Then you have deficient demand situation and the measures which can be taken by the government to tackle the situation. Deficient demand, when there is aggregate demand increases and aggregate demand becomes more than aggregate supply, the aggregate demand curve will shift upwards. Whereas deficient demand means when aggregate demand curve decreases, it comes lower, the leftward and lower shifting of the aggregate demand curve. And what does this situation of deficient demand lead to? When demand in the whole economy, aggregate demand is less than aggregate supply, supply is more. That means price gets reduced. It leads to deflationary situation. So the gap between the two aggregate demand curves, that is what? Deflationary gap. Then regarding this, what type of measures, fiscal measures, monetary measures can be taken by the government? A question can also be given based on that. Just like this, another question which is inflationary gap, that is excess demand situation. Similar question, opposite, exactly opposite, that can also be given to you. Okay, so these two are also very important. Now you have investment multiplier. Investment multiplier is equal to delta Y by delta I. Increase in income by increase in investment. This is very important. Sum can be given, numerical sum. Investment multiplier can also be expressed like K is equal to delta Y by delta I is equal to 1 by 1 minus MPC. 1 by 1 minus MPC. Also, as MPC plus MPS equal to 1, therefore this investment multiplier is equal to 1 by MPS. Okay, you must remember this. Investment multiplier is equal to 1 by MPS is equal to 1 by 1 minus MPC. Like a question can be given, if the value of multiplier is 4, then what is the value of MPC and MPS? It's very easy. Value of multiplier is 4. 4 is equal to 1 by MPS. Then MPS equal to 1 by 4. That means 0.25. Once you get MPS equal to 0.25, now it's very easy to get MPC. How is that done? We know that MPC plus MPS equal to 1. So MPC is equal to 1 minus MPS. That means 1 minus 0.25. That will be 0.75. Okay. And also numerical sum can be given regarding the equilibrium. C plus I, that is AD, and AS equal to Y. Consumption function can be given, consumption function. Investment can be given, which is given as a figure. Then equilibrium level of income you need to determine. Just equate aggregate demand equal to aggregate supply. Y, that is aggregate supply, aggregate demand C plus I. Then equate and you can get the equilibrium level of income by linear equation, simple linear equation. Okay. So from this chapter of theory of income and employment, study these, you will be able to answer all questions. Okay, fine. Thank you.